it's moving in the right direction.
All right, thank you very much, sir. It's no more news that you are contesting to be the president or the next president of Nigeria. Why do you think people should vote for you?
Well, it's not that I think people should vote for me. It has become compulsory that people vote right this time around. I have witnessed politics for the better part of the last 40 or so years of my life, and participated actively as an activist for 30 solid years. And I have never enjoyed good governance, except when I was out of Nigeria for 20 years. So if you take 20 years out of my 52 years of life, Nigeria has wasted the rest. And the story is the same for a lot of people across this country. Young people who are students who have to spend 9 months at home, women who are pregnant who have to, choose between death and safe delivery or some form of delivery, children who die in large numbers before they reach the age of 5, and the general problem of insecurity in the country and the lack of leadership is why you must vote differently this time around, and that you can't afford to be unconcerned. And you see the reason why they introduced some very difficult monetary policy towards election is because voting is so important. They have to stop you. And most importantly, let me just send it out there that I have a sense of entitlement, and I won't deny it. That, I think it's time for Ondo State people to produce the president of Nigeria, because we provide all the paperwork for Nigeria. We're always the people they consult for economic advice, because of course we go to school and we're brilliant people. When they want to fight, they send us to go and do it because we are stubborn people. But we haven't, to the best of my knowledge, in recent times produced a president for Nigeria. So that's my own sense of entitlement.
Okay, I'm still going to that stubbornness which you mentioned, but what do you want to do to make a difference?
Well, there's a lot of things I want to do, and there's so many of them that I've tried to do outside of government. I started out as a student activist in the 90s when Nigeria was going through the most difficult period of decision in its life. There was a need for transition from military rule to civilian rule. And I was one of the few young people who stepped out at that time, including one of our stubborn brothers, Chief Gani Fawemi. And I want to say this, it's very important that we're talking about Chief Gani Fawemi. Nigerians had an opportunity to vote for him in 2003. There was no excuse they didn't give. He doesn't have experience, he's too stubborn, he's too clean, he doesn't listen, he doesn't respect authority. And then when Gani died, everybody said, oh, he's the greatest person that ever walked the surface of the earth. Same thing with Chief Obafemi Awolowo. He came, gave us free education in this state. When it was full time for him to win, Ondo people went and brought a candidate in this Akure who tried to defeat free education. Not all of it. And another thing that we must know about this state, and I'll say this again, is that every republic that has had problem ended in Ondo State. 1983, it was here that they ended the First Republic. The Second Republic, the Third Republic with Abiola, the biggest fight of it came from Ondo State indigents all over the country and all over the world. So anytime we talk about Ondo State, don't forget the very strategic importance of the state in bringing about peace and sometimes war.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Now back to that stubbornness, still what you're talking about. Stubbornness. How will it be to have a president who is said to be stubborn?
Well, a stubborn president is not an irrational person. Maybe what people say when they say people in Ondo State are stubborn, that I've gathered all over the times I've heard about stubbornness, is that Ondo State people will not follow you to go and steal, right? They will not allow you to cheat them. And if you cheat them, you can't go back to sleep. They will keep petitioning you until they get justice. And they would ensure that what they believe in is done right. That's what they say Ondo State is stubborn for. We're not stubborn just for the sake of just being a coconut head. We're stubborn for the right reasons, principled people. And I can say categorically that that population is reducing on a daily basis. Because you now have Ondo State people who also follow them to Abuja to go and steal. You have Ondo State people who get arrested by EFCC, for doing terrible things. You have Ondo State people who get contracts and don't implement them. But we are still the last standing principled people in Ondo State, and I'm very, very happy to say it. Even when I travel out of the country and they ask my country where I come from, I say very quickly, I'm from Nigeria and Ondo State, because it resonates with people. All these are principled people.
Okay, thank you very much. Do you have trust in the techniques, the principles, and the gadgets INEC will be using?
I shouldn't be saying that I don't have trust because I'm contesting, but the truth is that I'm very skeptical about their level of preparedness. I understand technology enough to know that Beavers would fail if it needs to fail. They failed them in Osun State. That's why they canceled the election there. And I also believe that machines rely on people to work accurately. So you can have the best computers in the world. If it touches the hand of a corrupt person, the outcome will be corrupted.
All right, it's very common for Nigerians to always complain after a government. They will still say, oh, the former government is better. So do you think if you peradventure win this election, will yours be better, or people will start complaining again that the former one is better?
They are not complaining that the former one is better because they are not better. It is because every successive government have done worse than the last. And that is what I'm here to change, is to ensure that you have real government. We have not had real government in this country. And it's important that we set up a real government that caters to the needs of our people, that address fundamental issues affecting Nigeria. There are so many easy things to do in Nigeria, what we call low-hanging fruits, that if we did it, people will be wondering, was I in Nigeria last year? Because if suddenly in this country you turn on electricity 24 hours, and suddenly, teachers don't go strike anymore, you start having classrooms that are as cool as your studio, and they have facilities, toilets, they have sporting facilities, they have gymnasium. People will be asking, how come we never had this? But as the Yorubas, we say, which is to say that if a person is afflicted with leprosy holds a bottle of honey, it's bound to fall off. And I'm not saying this to denigrate people who have such conditions, because they didn't cause it upon themselves. But it's a Yoruba adage.
All right, thank you, sir. Looking at the economic situation of Nigeria this present time, what will you do to make a difference in the economic situation, especially this issue of Naira, cashless policy and all that?
One is to actually have an economic system. Nigeria's economic system is trial and error. We can't even call it economics. What is Naira? Naira is Nigeria's legal tender. Any one of you that have ever been to a high school before, a secondary school, we know the qualities of legal tender. One of it is that Naira money doesn't expire. A legal tender doesn't expire. It's available. It's recognizable. It's acceptable. But Nigeria legal tender, Nigeria doesn't have a legal tender as we speak, because most Nigerians don't even recognize the legal tender. They don't accept it. It's not available, and it has expired. So what they did is usually what people who have no sense would do, is to go and change a currency and claim you are redesigning it without actually redesigning. You just went to Instagram or Snapchat and filtered it, and then you pour dye on it, and then people can't find it. And you are telling them that, oh, it is because we don't want corrupt politicians to buy votes. So the corrupt politicians then took out all the first set of monies you printed, 400 billion. It's with them as we speak.
Are you so sure of that?
Yes, because majority of the major candidates, as they call them, they all have banks. One of them has 3 banks. The second, I know all of them. We're all presidential candidates. They're not complaining because they have access to the money. But it's these poor people who have 10,000, 15,000 naira in the bank, all their life savings, who can't get it.
But according to it, they said they did not release much just because of to avoid vote buying.
So, if you want to sell your vote, you really want to sell it, can't you sell it by barter? Somebody gives you yam in place of vote, won't you take it if you're hungry? This is the most ridiculous argument I've ever heard in my life. Can't I give you my phone to buy a vote? Not to deposit other things to buy. But most importantly, it is now that it is easy to buy votes because there's no money. So any little money you have now, what used to cost $10,000, 10,000 naira to buy, now will cost you 1,000 naira. People will gladly sell at 500 because they are looking for money. Money is not available. That's why you don't put carpenters to run the central bank.
Okay, thank you, sir. Because of our time is fast spent. What do you have to say on the final notes to Ondo State
people? Yes. Well, I'm sure hearing me, Ondo State people can tell that that's the voice of an Ondo person, Ondo State person. I'm not Ondo town. Joe Apoy from the southern tip of Ondo State. I'm calling on the people of Ondo State to do what is right, what they are known for, which is voting right. They are the only people who go to war when you cheat them during the election because they always vote right and they don't allow you to take away their right to vote for the right person. This is the state that voted for Ajashin that gave me education. So it has always been that you have very principled people, and we call on the principled people of Ondo State who may not have been voting because they no longer trust the system of democracy, to come out and mass and vote for this young person that's talking today on your show.